off of number 84, Richard Johnson. Robert Clark, innocent bystander, suddenly turns into a touchdown score.
Hello.
33 yards and a touchdown. The Lions led 7-0.
And Randy, you talked at the top of the show about how Washington conceded that they have lost the NFC East division race, so it's a wild card battle for them.
Both the Giants and the Niners really are clearly out ahead and going to stay there in their division. Chicago's well ahead in the Central. But that game last week was the deciding factor as far as head coach Joe Gibbs is concerned.
Monk and Clark to the near side on 2nd and 1, and Ernest Biner looks to have the first down. 3 yards gained by Ernest Biner, so the Redskins pick up a first down. So take a look at the Central Division. Detroit very much into the thick of things, tied with Green Bay for 3rd place.
And a lot of people don't want to give Chicago quite the benefit of the division yet. Last year they got way ahead. They started 5-1 and slumped badly, finishing 6-10.
1st and 10. Riggs, the ball carrier. And Gerald Riggs running hard. And Riggs picks up 9 on the play.
We'll just follow Riggs here, running out this way. Early in the game, we've seen the Washington Redskins do 2 of the things they really wanted to do. Get the ball to their wide receivers and get their running game going. Very important for them to get the running game going against Detroit, who usually is able to shut people down against the run with the guys inside. Ball, Spielman.
This is Riggs. Needs 1 yard and has it. So Gerald Riggs, with 12 yards to his credit on 2 carries, picks up the first down. Chris Spielman on the stop, and Riggs looking to try and give Joe Gibbs what he wants in the way of more yardage on the ground in this game. Tight end formation for the Skins. Clark and Monk to the top of the screen. 1st and 10. Ball at the 32. And a reverse, a double reverse. This is Art Monk. And Art Monk takes it up near the 40-yard line as Art Monk picks up 8 on the carry. Stopped by Bruce McNorton. 2nd and 2. Riggs. Met by Keith Ferguson. Only a yard gained on the play as the 10th-year veteran from Ohio State greeted Riggs and stopped him for a gain of 1. Well, you talk about getting the benefit of a spot. Wayne Fonts is a little upset because he felt that Ferguson had stopped Biner after only a 1-yard gain, but a very favorable mark gives the Redskins a first down.
That's one of the things a lot of people love about Wayne Fonts. He's not one of those stone-faced guys in the sidelines. If he feels something, you're going to see it in his face.
Well, he felt that one. 1st and 10 from the 42. Riggs. Cut by Leroy Irvin after a pickup of about 2. Will bring up a 2nd and 8.
Well, Detroit earlier in the year, we have to remember those numbers are not very good. 25th overall, 18th pass, 28th rush. I mean, you look at those, you say this is a terrible defense. But this defense had Jerry Ball at nose guard was hurting. Benny Blades at safety came back last week off a knee. Chris Spielman was on injured reserve with a bad shoulder. This is now the Detroit defense that played so well last year intact.
2nd and 8, and this is the 6th straight rushing play for the Skins. Biner will make that Riggs, and Riggs has the first down. So Gerald Riggs coming out very determined, and the Redskins game plan to keep it on the ground, doing an excellent job. And the Redskins, with that measurement there, pick up another first down. And Riggs heads to the sidelines to catch his breath as Ernest Biner comes in. Both of these running backs came into today's game ranked high in the league in rushing. Ernest Biner 8th in the NFC, and Gerald Riggs ranked 11th. Ball in Detroit territory. 1st and 10 at the Lions 48. Humphries Incomplete off the fingertips of Gary Clark.
One of the main reasons head coach Joe Gibbs wanted to come into this game for the Redskins and be effective on the ground was his quarterback, Stan Humphries. He is young. This is only his fifth start. And as far as Gibbs was concerned, if we can get the running game going, we can use a more conservative passing game and get our wide receivers open and get them involved in our offense, which they really haven't been in the last 3 weeks.
Jackie Klein, the fourth-year player from Alabama, at the nose tackle in place of Jerry Ball. 2nd and 10 for the Skins. Humphries rolling left, looking back right, throws it to Jimmy Johnson, and Johnson took his eyes off of it and was fortunate that one wasn't intercepted, as Jimmy Williams, the linebacker from Washington, D.C., was right there. It was last week against the Saints that Williams scored his first ever touchdown on a fumble recovery. He ran 53 yards for the score.
Now watch Williams right here. Watch Gibson right here. Watch Spielman. Watch the way these guys react to this screen pass. Everything's going to go to the right. The defense starts going right. Spielman goes right. Now the whole defense now reacts back the other way. Very good job of reading that play by Jimmy Williams and Gibson, number 98.
3rd and 10. Hofer sacked Humphries. That is one player the Redskins were very concerned about, Michael Kofer. They compare him to Lawrence Taylor.
We'll see Kofer out here, right defensive end out here, as he come all the way around, fighting through Jim Lachey, the left tackle for the Redskins shoulder, and just does get around the ankles of Humphries. The Redskin coaches compare him favorably to Lawrence Taylor, only bigger and stronger.
Mel Gray from the 19. And a bunch of white shirts down to drop him, led by John Brandis. 7:09 remaining in the first quarter. Detroit on top by a touchdown thanks to a 33-yard pass play from Rodney Peete to Richard Johnson to Robert Clark, and scored. As you take a look at Lamar Leachman, the defensive line coach for the Lions.
No doubt getting his guys fired up about stopping the running game of the Washington Redskins. Jerry Ball, who you see number 93 in the right part of the screen there, told us yesterday, hey, I can read the stances. I know what the run's going to be. Well, Jerry, if you know what the run's going to be, you better get your buddies fired up and stop them.
1st and 10 for the Lions. Ball at their own 25. Richard Johnson in motion. Sanders, the ball carrier. And Sanders, no gain on the play. 2nd and 10. Lions from their own 25. Richard Johnson in motion. Peete loses the handle on the ball. Is it a live ball? And it is, and it's who recovered. And the Lions awfully fortunate to have recovered that one. It looked like Ken Dallafor recovered for the Lions, and Rodney Peete just simply looked as if he lost the handle on that one.
Now watch Marcus Cook coming from out here, rushing against Rodney Peete. Now watch Rodney Pete's arm action. That's what you have to watch for. Was his hand moving forward? Cook comes clean. The ball just came out. His arm was moving forward, but the ball was never in his hands when his arm was moving forward. That was a fumble.
Brings up a 3rd and 18 for the Lions, and Peete goes to the side to Richard Johnson, and Johnson scoots forward, picks up about 4 to 5 yards on the play, gaining them back. Marcus Cook on the stop, but this will bring up a punting situation for the Lions. So Marcus Cook doing an effective job on the last 2 series. Jim Arnold comes on to punt for the Lions. And back deep for the Redskins, a former Lion, Walter Stanley. So John Brandis, special teams leader for the Redskins, said, hey, we've got a guy who can play well on special teams as well. That's Walter Stanley. Low. Stanley from the 34. And gets maybe 2 yards.
Some big contracts in the last couple of weeks. We'll talk more about that later.
And Gerald Riggs slowed by Mike Kofer, who had a little bit of a leg whip there to slow him up. A gain of only 1.
I'm sorry, James. I didn't see a flag down there. If it was a leg whip, they'd have caught a penalty. I would say that's a tackle.
Only because Randy Cross perfected the leg whip.
But back to Chuck Schmidt and those contracts. He redid Andelsick's contract. He redid Spielman's. He did Rodney Pete's. It's been a great week for a lot of guys. William White, the defensive back, that was never done in the past here in Detroit.
On 2nd and 9. And Riggs with a nice hole, staying low. Good blocking on the side, led by Raleigh McKenzie, as Riggs picks up 7 on the run.
Here's Jerry Ball right here working against Bostic, one of the key matchups today for the running game. Ball's healthy, ball's ready. Here comes the counter trade, the Washington trademark, and they just mush him out of there. Raleigh McKenzie, 63, the right guard, got a nice block on ball.
A 7-yard gain brings up a 3rd and 2 for the Skins. Kelvin Bryant in as the back. Humphreys to Clark, complete for the first down and in Detroit territory. Clark pushed out of bounds near the 36-yard line of the Lions. A 21-yard pass play from Humphreys to Clark.
Right now, the Detroit defense would seem to be a bit confused. You know, everybody wants to talk about the bend but don't break. They're starting to develop a few cracks, because that looks like a drop coverage right there. A mistake or a miscommunication between Benny Blades and number 47, Leroy Irvin.
Jimmy Johnson, the blocking back for Riggs out of the I formation. This is Art Monk in motion. 1st and 10 from the 36. Riggs dragged down from behind by Jerry Ball. And boy, that's a load. Talk about an anchor pulling you down. A loss of 2 on the play as Ball made it through. Jeff Bostic's going to have a long day dealing with all of that load.
We saw Jerry Ball a couple plays ago not read this counter trade play correctly, get lost this way and not be able to come through. Watch him react this way, break through the backside of this play and completely disrupt it. McKenzie's going to block down. Ball breaks through McKenzie's block and drives right down back there to drop Riggs for a loss.
2nd and 12. Ball at the 38 of the Lions. Ricky Sanders in motion. Humphreys back to pass. And complete to Sanders. 7-yard pass play. 7 of the 12 picked back up on that pass play from Humphreys to Sanders. Live here at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. 70,000 plus on hand here to see if the Lions can snap a 25-year losing streak to the Skins. Lions start off effectively leading it by a touchdown with 2:30 remaining in the first quarter. James Brown along with Randy Cross as you take a look at Wayne Fonts in his 2nd full season as head coach of the Lions. 3rd and 5. Bryant, the back. Complete for the first down. So Stan Humphreys finds Ricky Sanders again, and Sanders with an 8-yard pass play, putting the Skins at about the 24 of the Lions.
It would seem the Washington Redskins coaches did a good job of anticipating the Detroit Lion defensive game plan, because right now they seem to be disrupting the defensive backfield of Detroit, and they're getting the posse, those 3 key wide receivers, open in holes throughout this defense.
Sanders and Monk to the near side on 1st and 10. Humphreys across to Clark, and Clark drops the pass as Leroy Irvin was right there. It appeared as if Gary Clark heard the footsteps of Irvin coming, because he had a good beat on that pass.
Here's Clark working one-on-one against Leroy Irvin, number 47, the wily vet, former L.A. Ram. And Clark really should have had this pass. It's right in his hands. Irvin, just to be sure, knocks it out of there.
1:31 remaining in the first quarter. Skins trailing by a touchdown. 2nd and 10. Riggs, the lone back. Humphreys complete to Monk, and Monk inside the 20 to about the 18. 5-yard pass play.
Let's keep an eye on some crossing receivers of the Redskins, and Mike Kofer coming out of his right defensive end rushing the passer.
Humphreys Complete to Monk for the first down. So Art Monk and Stan Humphries hooking up. Leroy Irvin, the defender. An 11-yard pass play, and the Skins are inside deep.
Fine job by the Washington Redskin line of protecting Stan Humphries, gives him the time, and what he gets out of Art Monk is the veteran's deal. The veteran gets out there, runs his route, and gets open. Here's Kofor working against Lachey. Another great matchup, and this little war, Warren and Lachey, two on one. Warren, good job of pass block.
On first and goal, Riggs inside the 5, and Riggs scores. Touchdown, Washington. Gerald Riggs breaking 3 tackles on that play, looking like John Riggins of old.
The thing to watch for here, this is 80% determination by Riggs and 20% terrible tackling by the Detroit Lions. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 different guys get a chance to tackle Riggs.
And Lohmiller puts it through. And that point after ties the ball game at 7 apiece with 27 seconds remaining in the first quarter of play. Chip Lohmiller kicking off, line drive, and Mel Gray will not be able to bring this one out. Touchback, so the Lions will start it 1st and 10 from their own 20 with 18 seconds to play in the first quarter of action.
And the main reason Joe Gibbs has gone with his strong defensive backfield is the weakness of the Detroit Lions at wide receivers. Wayne Fonts realizes he needs wide receivers in this offense.
Got 4 in there now, 1st and 10. Aubrey Matthews in the slot to the right. Pete, quick pass low to Richard Johnson, and Johnson gets up near the first down marker. Let's see where they spot it. And they spotted enough for the first down. So Pete to Johnson for the first down with 12 seconds remaining in the first quarter. And the Lions will allow the clock to run off and head down toward the other end. So that's the end of the first quarter with the score all tied at 7. 1st and 10 for the Lions, operating from their own 30. Start of the second quarter here, all tied at 7 apiece. Rodney Peete rolling right, and he can run. He has the first down. And run out of bounds by Andre Collins. A 37-yard scamper by Rodney Peete.
When you look at NFL stats, you know the times they are changing, and there's some different kind of offenses and athletes in the league. When there's a quarterback leading the league in yards per carry, and that right there is the quarterback. Rodney Peete averaging over 9 yards a carry this year so far for the Detroit Lions, getting some good blocking downfield.
And good field position at the 33 of Washington. 1st and 10. Peete chased by Mann, throwing on the run and throws it out of bounds smartly. 2nd and 10. Sanders, the ball carrier. First down, inside the 20. Broke out of bounds by Brad Edwards. And if you were wondering where Barry Sanders was, a good indication. There he is.
This is a combination of Barry Sanders getting out this way. This is strength, but it's a good block, and it's also a lot of Barry Sanders speed. Quick option. Barry's just gone on that corner. Robert Clark, number 82, out there trying to make a block, but that was just flip it to Barry and let him run.
14 yards gained on the play by Barry Sanders. 1st and 10 from the Skins' 18. Peete, quick out to Matthews. Matthews, and Matthews somehow holds on to it after being walloped by Martin Mayhew, but he paid the price as Matthews is still on the turf.
It's good concentration by Matthews. He's kind of put up into the air, has no choice. Mayhew right through him, right through the back. A hit like that can drive every single bit of air out of your body. About the time now that shoulder pad hits you, the air goes bye-bye.
As Detroit with the ball at Washington's 15, 2nd and 7. Jeff Campbell in to replace Arby Matthews. Sanders escapes one tackle and turns it on and gets down about a yard shy of the first down marker. And Barry Sanders showing you his escape ability and the speed as he turns what appeared to be a loss into a 6-yard gain.
Not many teams run this play in the NFL. In fact, Detroit might be the only one. The quick option. The quarterback flips it out. Pete to Sanders. Alvin Walton, known for his tackling, cannot bring Barry Sanders down. The leg strength of Barry Sanders foils tacklers time and time again.
3rd and 2. Ball at the 10 of Washington. 13:07 left in the first half. Pete decides to keep it. Heads for the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit. Yard dash for Rodney Peete, and that's why Wayne Fonts likes the combination of Peete and Sanders. Rich Carlos on to attempt the point after, the barefoot one. It's up and it's good, so the Lions move out in front by a touchdown at the 12:59 mark of the second quarter. Good passing and the nimble feet of Rodney Peete as well as Barry Sanders helps Detroit to a 14-7 lead over the Redskins as Rich Carlos puts this one up. And Stanley from the 3 for the Skins. And pushed ahead to the 25-yard line by Nico Noga. 1st and 10. Skins from the 26. Humphries looking. Intercepted by William White. Touchdown, Detroit.
Watch Humphries, looks to his left. Now he won't take his eyes off the receiver from here on out. And William White looks at it. He knows he's going to Monk. And Monk does not have a chance to catch William White.
And Rich Carlos with the point after boots the Lions in front by the score of 21-7 as Stan Humphries throws his 2nd interception of the afternoon. 8 on the season for Humphries.
Very big play for these Detroit Lions because the key to their defense, like we keep mentioning, is bend but don't break. They don't give up the big plays. They don't give up a lot of points. They just give up yards.
Carlos with a busy foot today. Walter Stanley from the 1. Crushed by Ray Crockett. Wayne Fonts said he liked the attitude of his team throughout the week. They were loose, easygoing all week, just like last week prior to the Saints game. But he was going to have a serious talk with them last night. Thus far, paying early dividends. 1st and 10 from the 17. Humphries. Low pass. Is it caught? Incomplete, ruled by the official. Intended receiver, of course, Art Monk, and he is slow getting up, grabbing his eyes. And Art Monk heads to the sidelines.
Ball hits the ground. Monk, being a great veteran, just kind of brings that ball in to make it look like a catch. One thing's for sure, in one of these crummy indoor stadiums, it's not dirt or grass in his eyes. He must have got poked in the eye with a finger.
So while Art Monk is being tended to by Bubba Tyer, Walter Stanley comes in to replace him. 2nd and 10, Stanley to the near side. Sanders in the slot, now moving. Humphries, deep drop. Has to run it. Has the first down. And about 8 more. So Stan Humphries, not able to find an open receiver, runs 17 yards for the first down plus.
That's something that Humphries adds to this Washington Redskins offense. He's a lot more mobile than Mark Rippon, who's been out now for a few weeks with that knee injury. And Humphries can get around. He can motor, as you just showed right there. He can pick up some key yardage when the defense drops way, way off.
1st and 10 for the Skins from the 34. Biner still on his feet. Good second effort by Ernest Biner, and an even stronger effort by Dennis Gibson.
And Dennis Gibson was one of the defensive players that Wayne Font said, while Chris Spielman and Benny Blades were out, a lot of our guys tried to do a little bit too much. They tried to play like Supermen to make up for those great players that weren't in there. Dennis Gibson, since last week, has played significantly better now that he's got his old buddy Spielman back inside next to him.
Only a yard gained on the play brings up 2nd and 1. Play action. Humphries looking for Gary Clark. He's got him wide open. And Gary Clark takes it down to about the 32-yard line of Detroit. So Humphries finds Clark for a 34-yard pass play. Benny Blades on the stop.
Now Clark's going to come from the left part of the screen, crossing the helmet right there at the top of the screen. This is a complete mental vapor lock by somebody in the Detroit Lion defense, because there's nobody within 20, 30 yards of him. And the way Gary Clark runs after the catch, the Lions are lucky that Benny Blades brought him down with one hand.
And the Skins on the ground again as Riggs takes it ahead for about 3. 10:09 remaining in the first half. Ball is spotted at the 28 of Detroit. As Tracy Hayworth goes in to replace Jackie Klein. There's Mark Rippon, who practiced this week with the Skins for the first time, moving out on the practice field, anxious to get back. Humphries back to pass on 2nd down, throws it complete for the first down to Ricky Sanders. And Randy, we're seeing the quick strike passing opportunities when Humphries and the posse are in sync.
And there's Mark Rippon. You think he's into it. He's sitting on the sideline. Look, he looks a little nervous. He's got the football tucked underneath his arm. He wishes he was in there right now. But I tell you, Humphries is now firing this ball to these receivers. He's made one poor decision, and that was the interception by William White. Otherwise, Humphries is getting this ball outside to the wide receivers, just like Coach Gibbs wrote up in the game plan.
From the 15 of Detroit on first down, Riggs to the right side, inside the 10 to about the 8. So a 7-yard run off right by Gerald Riggs. Well, the Lions have sprinted out to a 21-7 lead over the Redskins, and this crowd of 70,000 plus enjoying it. 8:55 remaining in the second quarter. James Brown along with Randy Cross and Gerald Riggs, 11 carries for 48 yards as Humphries on 3rd and 2. Touchdown, Washington Redskins. Riggs. There is a flag on a play. And we'll await the call from Bob McElwee. And it goes against the Skins, so this will be brought back.
Illegal motion on the Washington Redskins.
Illegal motion. 2 men moving. 5 yards. 2nd down.
Now let's take a look at this and see if we can find out who the 2 receiver types that were moving. Well, that was easy. There was a motion man moving, and also Middleton, number 86, was moving on that play.
Washington with 4 wideouts in on 2nd and 13. Biner, the lone back. Biner, the ball carrier, inside the 10, inside the 5, and looks to be close to the 1st down marker. Keith Ferguson on the stop. 8-yard run by Ernest Biner, and we'll have a measurement.
Your attention, please.
But what we've seen so far here today, James, is a Washington Redskins team play very good on offense. I think very good so far on defense. But Detroit has taken advantage of every little mental lapse and mistake that Washington has had.
And that's precisely what the Lions did last year, make that last week against the Saints, capitalizing on turnovers and scoring all their points on turnovers. So the measurement, good enough for a 1st down for the Skins. 1st and goal. Ball marked at the 4. Out of the I formation. Riggs trying to find a hole. Lunges forward for maybe a half a yard.
With that big offensive line of the Redskins matched up against the Detroit Lions, I think the Redskins are much better served getting some lateral motion going with those guys, getting those defenders running sideways and letting the Biners and the Riggs cut back and through the cracks of the defense to score.
2nd and goal from the 4. Riggs, the back again, play action. Humphries to Jimmy Johnson of Howard. Touchdown, Redskins. At the 7:21 mark, Washington answers back as Humphries finds Jimmy Johnson open.
One of the themes this week in Detroit has been simplifying the defense. Well, if they simplified it again this week, a lot of guys who were studying the game plan last week forgot what they simplified, because that was a blown coverage by somebody inside for Detroit.
And Lohmiller puts the point after up and good. And Jimmy Johnson, scoring his 1st career touchdown for the Redskins, helps to narrow the gap to 7. So Stan Humphries looking very determined as he drove the Skins down the field. Skins trail now 21-14 with 7:21 remaining in the 1st half as Lohmiller boots this one deep, moving Mel Gray back 5 yards into the end zone, and smartly decides not to bring this one out. So the Lions will take it at their own 20.
And we talked about communication or miscommunication or blown coverages. Watch Johnson come from over here working against the Detroit defense. Now as he comes off the line, we're going to stop it. Watch Chris Spielman, number 54, right here, pointing over to his buddy, Dennis Gibson, the linebacker on the other side, right here, saying, Dennis, here comes the tight end, pick him up. Dennis didn't pick him up. Touchdown, Redskins.
Jimmy Johnson wide open, and Spielman knew it and saw it. Not much needs to be said between Gibson and Spielman that time. 1st and 10 for the Lions. Pete, intended receiver was Richard Johnson. Incomplete, being defended by Sidney Johnson. Some Washington fans may remember Richard Johnson. He played with the 87 strike team in Washington, and Washington dominating the time of possession, but trailing on the scoreboard by a touchdown.
As we mentioned earlier, Washington statistically and in every other way you can think of has dominated this game, but their mistakes have kept an opportunistic young Detroit team ahead in this game.
6 defensive backs in for the Skins on 2nd and 10 from the 20. And nowhere on that play for the Lions as Barry Sanders greeted by a horde of Skins. No gain. Wilbur Marshall led the charge. And Wilbur Marshall, really very low-key kind of a guy off the field anyway, but even more subdued last night, Randy, maybe knowing that he wasn't going to play a full game today.
Very subdued and quiet. You know, Marshall's kind of like other linebackers. They don't like to run and shoot because they don't get full-time play against this offense. Coaches like DBs against wide receivers in the run and shoot.
Ball was marked for a loss of 1. This is 3rd and 11 for the Lions. Pete with time going up top for Robert Clark and overthrown as Darrell Green step for step with Robert Clark, and Darrell Green might have been in about 3rd gear out of 5 only.
And Robert Clark seemed to think that Darrell Green, their number 28, was tugging at his jersey a bit as they were running downfield, which would be illegal contact. But hey, when you're this close with the officials, as Darrell obviously is, you don't worry about a little incidental contact.
And Tim Johnson said, hey, let's not make it so obvious, and pulls them off. Punting situation. Walter Stanley back to receive this Jim Arnold punt for the Lions. And he shanks this one. And the Redskins will come up with excellent field position. Ball will be marked at about the 47-yard line of Washington. Only a 34-yard punt. 1st and 10 for the Skins. Ball at their own 47. Biner trying to turn the corner and stays on his feet. And good second effort by Ernest Biner nets him the 1st down. So Biner and Riggs running extremely hard today, Randy, showing good 2nd and 3rd effort.
And Biner last week was a victim of one of those circumstances that happens in football. The ball bounces off his shoulder and is intercepted in the end zone, thwarting a winning, would have been maybe a winning drive for the Washington Redskins. You know, in talking to Coach Gibbs of the Redskins, he said, if something like that's got to happen to anybody, you want it to happen to the hardest working, nicest guy on your team, and that's Ernest Biner.
Biner gets the call again, and he drags Michael Kofer 2 yards, and let me tell you, he's dragging a player, Kofer, 6'5", 245, and he's limping a bit there. Biner, 7 carries for 28 yards as he limps on off, and let me tell you, again, he was dragging a pretty big young man.
And you saw him motioning to the sideline like, I'm okay, I can stay in. That's the kind of guy Ernest Biner is. He gets in there early, he works out hard, he watches a lot of film. And you hate to see a mistake like that happen to a dedicated player like Ernest Biner.
2 tight end formation for the Skins on 2nd and 8. Sanders in motion. Humphries with time. Plenty of time. Now gets dropped. Combination, Kofer and Duckins.
Well, earlier in the game, we talked about the great job that Donnie Warren was doing blocking against Mark Kofer right over here. Here comes the pressure right there. Here comes the pressure here. Watch Donnie Warren on the left blocking against Mike Kofer. Does a good job initially, but then he lets up. Kofer doesn't, and he comes in high for half a sack.
On 3rd and 14, Humphries back to pass. Decides to run it. And it's going to be about 7 yards shy of the 1st down marker as he's gang tackled by the Lions. And Stan Humphries has to get some house cleaning in order, moving Walter Stanley along the line, and boy, major confusion indeed, and flags everywhere. Ed Simmons backs off the line and runs into Gary Clark, who was in motion.
76.
So major league confusion indeed, and Washington will have to punt this one. Ralph Moishienko comes on as Joe Gibbs tries to get an explanation as to what the confusion was.
Here's Simmons right here. The confusion's happening between Humphries, receiver, running back, but Simmons kind of settles it all when he decides to move right here. Trying to get a jump start, working against Tracy Hayward.
Moishienko Punting to Gray, and Gray fair catches it at the 4. So with 3:08 remaining in the first half, the Lions will take it from their own 4. A 37-yard punt, 4.1 second hang time by Ralph. Make that Ralph Moishienko.
And this can really serve, I believe, to be an inspiration for the Detroit Lion team. The Redskins, I think, showed flagrant disregard and disrespect for the Lions as a team completely by going for it on 4th and 6 on the 40-yard line. Would they do that against the 49ers? Would they do that against the Giants? Heck no, they wouldn't. Not on 4th and 6. That's just a slap in the Lions' face. Let's see how they react.
Long count from Pete. And Pete gets rid of it to Richard Johnson for the first down. A 25-yard pass play from Pete to Johnson. Ball at the 30 of Washington. Make that Detroit. Terry Greer to the near side. On 1st and 10. Pete to Jason Phillips for another first down. And Phillips smartly runs it out of bounds. Ball will be marked at the 44 of Washington.
Now here's a classic run and shoot play you'll see coming right at you. Phillips had been in motion, and that receiver zone is completely flooded. Phillips moves in there. Earlier Clark was in there. Johnson was on that side of the field.
2:11 remaining in the first half. Washington trailing 21-14. Pete, quick pass to Richard Johnson, and Johnson brought down by Sidney Johnson. 2nd and 2 from the 35 of Washington. Hand off to Barry Sanders. Sanders has the first down and brought down from behind by Charles Mann. 11-yard shake and bake by Barry Sanders.
What makes Barry Sanders so effective here is everybody moves out of his way from the defense. They're rushing the passer. Barry Sanders hesitates in the backfield and then sprints straight upfield. Imagine this guy coming at you quivering and shaking and moving at full speed. I wouldn't have a chance.
Ball at the 24 of Washington. Pete. Complete. Touchdown. Aubrey Matthews, Detroit.
Coming right here. Watch him head right up the seam. This is the kind of play that Mouse Davis says week after week is open. It's a matter of my quarterback maturing and getting comfortable in the offense.
Carlos's point after is good. And what a way to bounce back from having the wind knocked out of you to come back and score a touchdown. That's exactly what Aubrey Matthews did. Lions on top by a pair.
A lot of it's emotional. A lot of it's mental. And I just think the Detroit Lions took it as a real insult that Washington was so little concerned about their defense and offense. They went for it at 4th and 6 at the 40.
1:17 remaining in the first half. Carlos pushes Stanley back a yard in the end zone. He brings it out. And a flag. No. Flag picked up. And Stanley dropped at about the 14-yard line by Victor Jones. Humphreys back to pass on first down to Biner. And Biner takes it up 8 yards on the pass play. 2 yards shy of the first down marker. And Ernest Biner still limping noticeably on that right leg of his. On 2nd and 2. Complete for the first down to Ricky Sanders, and Sanders up to about the 32 with under 40 seconds to play in the first half. Kelvin Bryant comes in.
Another example of testing the patience. Detroit will give them the little ones, won't give them the big ones.
To Bryant, incomplete. Bruce McNorton broke that one up. Game clock stops with 25 seconds remaining in the first half as you take a look at Joe Gibbs.
To get within Chip Lohmiller's range, they need to get at least 35 yards from where they are right now, down to about the 35 yard line of Detroit to get within field goal range.
Humphreys, sack. Keith Ferguson.
These Washington Redskins have lit a fire under this Detroit Lion team. It seemed they had the momentum on that last drive they had the ball.
Third sack of the afternoon for the Lions.
And here's Ferguson coming from left defensive tackle, working against Raleigh McKenzie. McKenzie loses them right at the end. Ferguson keeps driving for the sack.
And an appreciative crowd cheers the Lions on as Joe Gibbs, known as one of the very best at making adjustments in the second half, will have his hands full. But the Lions face one of the masters in Joe Gibbs, who makes adjustments during halftime to capitalize on the fact that they only have 13 minutes for a halftime. And we'll elaborate on that a bit more as we take a look at Joe Gibbs making some notes, and I'm certain from the adjustments he's made in the locker room. Detroit will receive the second half kickoff as Lohmiller puts it in the air. Gray from the 6. And Randy, talk about an organized coach at halftime. That's Joe Gibbs.
Well, they have limited time now at halftime. So what Joe Gibbs does, the coaches start meeting with about 2 minutes left to go in the first half. That is very important. The assistant coaches have the diagrams. They're up in the press box. They come down to the locker room. They have the diagrams on the locker room board already. The photos from upstairs are already there. And the coaches, curiously enough, run off the field first at the end of the first half so they can get in there right away and get the game plan for the second half underway.
Lions 1st and 10, ball from their own 18. Just underway here in the third. Rodney Peete with a long count. Hands off on the draw to Barry Sanders. And Sanders ahead for 6 yards. Trips left. 3 wide receivers to the left for the Lions. Long count by Peete. Sanders, the ball carrier. Met hard by Brad Edwards after a gain of only about 2.
And these halftime stats look extremely even, except for the time of possession. The key so far in this game in the first half was the Washington Redskins making some mistakes. And when the Detroit Lions did take advantage of the mistakes and did score, they scored quickly on big plays.
3rd and 2 for the Lions from their own 25. Peete throwing for Robert Clark, incomplete. Todd Bowles over pushing him out of bounds. Gets a good one away this time, pushing Stanley back to the 19. And Stanley gets up and continues to run up to about the 28. So very obviously he wasn't touched by the Lion near him. A 46-yard punt and 8-yard return.
Last week he threw 10 completions to Donnie Warren alone.
Hands off on the ground to Riggs.
And just to follow up on that Donnie Warren thing a little bit, he threw 10 passes to Donnie Warren and 2 passes to Jimmy Johnson. 12 of his completions last week were to his tight ends. Highly unusual for this Washington Redskin offense. They're used to getting things outside, and even Donnie Warren admits, he goes, look, my job is to put my nose in there and blast away. I'm a blocker. I'm not going to be a guy wearing a towel on my side. I'm not a real threat as a receiver.
After 6 games on the play, this brings up a 2nd and 4. Ricky Sanders in motion. Riggs, nowhere to go. A horde of Lions led by Michael Kofer. Loss of 3 on the play. As Kelvin Bryant comes on. Third down situation. Monk and Clark come in.
Third down.
Riggs, Johnson, and Ron Middleton head to the sidelines. Ray Crockett comes on for the Lions. 5 defensive backs. Their nickel package. Third and call it 7. Humphries. Complete to Gary Clark for the first down. And Clark walloped by William White. 13-yard pass play from Humphries to Clark.
And here's Gary Clark working one-on-one, it seems, against Leroy Irvin. And Irvin just stumbles a little bit with that move by Clark, and the ball is zipped right in there by Humphries. The Redskins need to stay patient. They need to stay with their effective running game and their intermediate passing game, 12 to 17 yards.
From their own 44, first and 10. Monk in motion. Play action. Humphries. For Clark, throws it, intercepted by Benny Blades. Third interception thrown today by Stan Humphries.
Well, we talked about the poise and the patience that Humphries has shown so far this game. On 2 plays, he hasn't. One was an interception for a touchdown, and the other one was that one right there. Poorly thrown ball, overthrows Clark, and Benny Blades is right there to take advantage. He threw that one right into the teeth of the zone.
Stan Humphries on the sidelines, who was just talked to by Joe Gibbs, but I'm sure the dejection comes from the fact that Jeff Rutledge, longtime quarterback, 12th-year player out of Alabama, looks as if he's going to be going in on the next Redskins possession. First and 10 for the Lions. Ball at the 45 of Washington. Pete. Incomplete. Hits the turf. Intended receiver Terry Greer. 10:45 remaining in the third. Washington trailing by 2 touchdowns. Sanders, the ball carrier. First down. Headed for pay dirt. Touchdown, Detroit.
Watch Johnson jump off sides. His jumping off sides open up the hole in the middle. He gets back, but he commits way to his right. Glover moves him to the left. He's moved, Delafour moves Williams to the left and opens a huge hole for Barry Sanders.
And Carlos with the point after as Barry Sanders scampers 45 yards a season and career long. Lions comfortably ahead. From the 8, Stanley. Across the 25. Across the 35 to the 37-yard line. So an excellent return by Walter Stanley, dropped by Tracy Hayward. And playing right now at quarterback for the Washington Redskins, Jeff Rutledge, number 10. First and 10 for the Skins from their own 37. Rutledge throws it complete to Art Monk, and Monk has the first down. So Rutledge comes off, uncorks quickly with a 10-yard strike to Art Monk.
We talked about the contrast in offensive styles in this first half. In fact, this game so far, Washington has its stats. They have the time of possession. Detroit's longest scoring drive today has been a drive of 2 minutes and 28 seconds. They have had nothing but big, rapid-fire drives. Big plays, bang, scores.
What will they be like when they really get some talent? From the 48, first and 10, 9:47 remaining in the third. Rutledge. Art Monk complete on the comeback route. And it's inbounds. About 4 yards shy of the first down.
Got to look for a replay on a play like that, James.
Think so?
If he had possession and both feet down in the ground. Let's check this out. Does he have the ball and do both feet get in? He's got the ball. Well, the knee's as good as both feet in it.
What's the old saying?
That's right.
1 knee equals 2 feet. 2nd and 4. Ball marked at the 45 of Detroit. Riggs, the lone back. Riggs, the ball carrier. And Riggs scoots ahead for a couple, maybe 3. Jerry Ball doing a good job of clogging things up there.
I really don't think this move at quarterback for the Washington Redskins can really be considered a move of desperation. I think this is a move they have got to make. They are in a situation they have got to win this game, period, end of discussion. And whatever it takes them to do, that's what Joe Gibbs is willing to do. If that means putting Russ Grimm at quarterback, who'd probably be his 3rd string quarterback at this point, that might be what he has to do.
Skins are hoping it doesn't get that bad. On 3rd and 2, Rutledge back to pass again. And throws it complete to Sanders. Sanders inside the 20. Down to the 10-yard line. Benny Blades stops him. A 33-yard pass play from Jeff Rutledge to Ricky Sanders.
Rutledge is going to fire this ball out here, and McNorton, number 29, is going to take a chance. He's going to gamble, and he's going to lose. Going to break it up, diving in front. Sanders keeps with that ball, tries to break back right here. He's going for the end zone, but Blades and Gibson put him down.
Washington's got some work cut out for them. Trailing 35-14, 7:50 remaining from the 10-yard line. Riggs inside the 5. And Gerald Riggs bullying his way down to about the 3. A 7-yard pickup by Gerald Riggs. Well, Jeff Rutledge has been waiting for this opportunity ever since he came to Washington. One of the reasons Joe Gibbs convinced him to come to Washington was to say, hey, remember the situation that Doug Williams was in? The same thing could happen for you. On 2nd and 3, Riggs. Touchdown, Washington Redskins. So Jeff Rutledge comes on in his first series and moves the Skins downfield and to a score. And Rutledge, also the holder. Bo Miller had been using.
Nothing clean, nothing fancy here. Getting good push on the right side by Simmons and McKenzie and Bostic. And Riggs just powers his way through.
And the point after is good, so Washington narrows the gap on that touchdown, 35-21. And that scoring drive, 6 plays covering 63 yards, 3:24 was the time of that drive. They've got 3:10. It was actually 3:24, and Gerald Riggs powers it over for a 3-yard score. Gray dropped inside the 10, a late flag as John Brandis dropped Mel Gray.
Is John Brandis, the special teams specialist for the Washington Redskins, leading the Redskins in special teams tackles. And here's the replay. Keep an eye on Jimmy Johnson, lead blocking on Jimmy Williams. Simmons working against Ferguson. And Raleigh McKenzie working right here, open the way on the right side of the Redskins offense. Very nice blocking down by the goal line. Biner has nothing to do but lower his shoulder and score.
So the Lions will take over deep in their own territory at the 4. 1st and 10. 7 minutes left in the 3rd. Pete, the pass from his own end zone. Threw it behind the intended receiver, Aubrey Matthews.
This is no let's hunt and peck and kind of jab them and see how things are going. They're coming from downtown with every punt today.
2nd and 10 for the Lions. At their own 4. 2 seconds left on the play clock. Pete looking back to the left and overthrows the intended receiver, Robert Clark. So the Redskins' defensive movement that time perhaps confused Pete somewhat, Randy.
He looked to be confused. He looked to the right. When he came back to the left, what he saw he did not expect. That's why he threw that ball up and away. It was a good decision on his part, throwing this ball away, but it's incredibly important right here that Detroit get this ball out. They'd love to get a first down. More important is for them to gain 3 to 5 yards to give Jim Arnold, their punter, room to stand in the end zone and punt. Right now, he'd be right on the end line if they have to punt.
Thus far, Rodney Pete on 0 of 4 this half. 3rd and 10 from their own 4. And Pete nearly intercepted by Sidney Johnson. The intended receiver was Richard Johnson, who did not look to be on the same page with Rodney Pete. Didn't even look at the ball.
On this particular play, I'm not completely sure. You see Pete limping here coming off of that sack. He may need a little help getting off the field. He got boloed from the right and the left. He got high load on that play by the Washington pass rush. That's what caused that ball to go up as high as it did and to be a poor throw. You see Detroit trainer Ken Fowle coming to his rescue, giving him a little help.
And there's Bob Galliano warming up. And Randy, you mentioned before, impressive numbers when he does play.
And keep in mind, James, there are only 2 active quarterbacks today for Detroit. Andre Ware is inactive today.
Arnold from his own end zone. Beautiful, beautiful punt. Stanley has to run it down. Fields it at the 42. Flag on a play as Stanley is gang tackled and dropped. Forward progress will have it at about the 42. A 57-yard punt by Arnold.
And it would appear we'll have a penalty against Washington on that return with an illegal block. Exactly. Watch Eric Williams, number 75, coming in from the left. Gets a good move on Dallafour and comes in and puts a knee right in the front of Rodney Pete's knee, much like Mark Rippon for Washington got 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Riggs, the ball carrier, on 1st and 10. Flag on the play.
And I know where that flag was thrown. That's more than likely holding against an offensive lineman.
Holding, number 68, offense, 10 yards, first down.
That's Russ Grimm, 10th-year vet out of Pittsburgh.
You see him checking Rodney Pete on the sideline. They were stretching that left hamstring out a little bit. Anytime you get a leg hyperextended like that, it puts a lot of stress on the muscles on the back of the leg. Not on the front of the leg, on the back of the leg, and he may have strained a hamstring there.
Skins push back to their own 22. 1st and 18. Riggs. And Riggs gains a significant portion back. Looks to be about 2 yards shy of the necessary yardage for the first down.
And this is a play that made this Washington Redskin offensive line famous. Both these guys are going to go this way, and Riggs will come through and go up. Watch these blocks by Grimm and Lachey. They steamroll people. Bam, bam. They got Jimmy Williams and Spielman.
Back to live action as the Skins keep it on the ground. And enough for the first down as Riggs, the workhorse, pounds out the yardage. .454 remaining in the 3rd. Lions on top, 35-21. On 1st and 10, Rutledge to Monk. And it's complete. 6-yard pass play from Rutledge to Monk. Bring up a 2nd and 4.
And there's no reason for Washington at this point to get impatient and start doing things crazy and going down the field. They made a mistake last time going a little too far down the field. Stay with your intermediate passing game, anywhere like at the short ones at 5 yards, at 7 yards, at 12 yards, and keep running the ball. There's plenty of time left.
Rutledge on second down. Dumps it off to Riggs. Flag on a play. Riggs loses the ball. And it looks like Detroit recovered it. There is a flag on the play.
But I believe it's holding against Washington.
Line offense. That's Henry line. First down.
And the quarterback for the Lions on this series. And he hands off to Barry Sanders, who escapes one tackle. And Sidney Johnson rides him out of bounds. A flag is thrown on the play.
Watch this replay. Watch Simmons, the right tackle. He moves. This is procedure. This is illegal motion against the Redskins to start this play. It should have been blown dead right there as he moved because the tackle was in motion. The Riggs gets it and the ball just pops loose. Nobody hit it. He went to change hands with it and it just pops up in the air and Jimmy Williams gets it.
So you take a look at Bob Galliano in at the helm for the Lions. It's been confirmed that Rodney Peete does have a hamstring pull. We'll find out how seriously and whether or not he will be back. Holding call on the last play on Lomas Brown brings up a first and call it 15 for the Lions. Ball at their own 40. Galliano back to pass. Overthrows the intended receiver, Terry Greer, incomplete. Entry 2nd and 16 for the Lions. 3:26 remaining in the third. Galliano throwing it in the direction of Robert Clark. And Randy, I think here we should give an explanation. With that run and shoot offense, the receiver is to make an adjustment, and they seem to be on the wrong page that time.
Well, the receivers and the quarterbacks are supposed to be on the exact same page. They read a blitz, they read a coverage, and the quarterback throws it to a spot. On that play, obviously, one of them was very, very wrong.
Third and 16. Take a look at Detroit's third down conversion numbers. 6 DBs in for the Redskins. Galliano throwing for Richard Johnson, complete for the first down. Trips right formation for the Lions. 2 seconds left on the play clock. Galliano, one up top, complete to Johnson. First down inside the 20. And there's a late flag thrown back near the quarterback. And this play will be brought back.
There was a personal foul after the play was dead, I believe, on Kevin Glover right there, number 53, the center for the Detroit Lions.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness 53 after the play.
And
after
Glover.
the play.
Ball marked at the 33 of Washington. 2:28 left in the third. Option, Sanders. First down and more. Galliano complete as Richard Johnson stretches down to the 10.
On that play, Bob Galliano got to trips formation over there with 3 wide receivers to his left, flooded the zone, sending the 2 farthest out about 10-15 yards down, and dragged Johnson across about 7-8 yards deep for the completion.
3rd and 3, ball at the 10. Cardinals man in on the stop, and we'll see where they mark his forward progress. And it's going to be shy of the first down marker, and you know what the fans want them to do. 10 carries, 100 yards today for Barry Sanders, and this is his first 100-yard game of the season. Fans booing because Rich Carlos is coming on to attempt the field goal.
I think this is a good move, but they had better hurry up. There's 10 seconds left on the play clock to get this field goal off.
It's up, and it's good. So Rich Carlos adds an extra 3 to the scoreboard for the Lions. They now lead at 38-21 with 11 seconds remaining in the third. And Rodney Peete back on the field after being examined in the locker room. Rich Carlos to kick off. High and short. From the 7, Joe Howard. And Howard across the 20 to about the 22-yard line. Last play of the third. Rutledge on 1st and 10 for the Skins. Play action. And Rutledge slides forward, giving himself up to the 20 as Jimmy Williams stops him. Well, that's the end of the third quarter with the score. Lions 38, Redskins 21. Joe Gibbs, as he looks at his Skins, trailing 38-21 as we start the fourth quarter of play here in Pontiac, Michigan. Redskins from their own 20. 2nd and 11. Rutledge. Complete to Gary Clark. And Clark gets back enough yardage for the first down.
A nice job by Gary Clark right there, coming back to the ball. He actually was about 5 yards from the ball, or further down the field when that ball was thrown. He came back and leaped up in front of defenders to get it. See New Orleans leading Cincinnati 21-7. So Cincinnati's Jekyll and Hyde appearance seems to be intact.
Back home after being on the road for 5 consecutive weeks. Biner, the back. Rutledge back to pass. Looking for Monk, complete for another first down, and Monk still on his feet. Ridden out of bounds by Jimmy Williams at the 40 of Detroit.
This play is rifled in there by Rutledge and Monk, but the bad thing about this play comes from the Detroit defense and the chances that are taken by Crockett and Leroy Irvin. Watch these two guys diving in there, going for interceptions. Benny Blades misses the tackle. And Jimmy Williams has to club down in there at the very end to get Art Monk out of bounds. 3 very poor gambling plays by the Detroit defense.
Boy, has Jeff Rutledge performed well since he's been in there. 7 of 7, a total of 106 yards. 1st and 10 from the 40 of the Lions. Biner inside the 35, down near the 30. So Ernest Biner with a 9-yard run will bring up a 2nd and 1, stopped by Keith Ferguson.
One thing I like about Washington's attack so far, James, they've hung with their guns. Joe Gibbs has maintained his patience. Wayne Fonts doubted if Washington could really stay patient against his defense. Joe Gibbs has stayed very patient. He stayed with what he started with. He's running the ball effectively. He's using his short passing game. He has not panicked. He has 13 minutes left, and he's 17 points down.
And a 2nd and 1 here from the 31 of the Lions. Clark to the near side. This is Sanders in motion. Rutledge. Complete to Sanders. And Sanders down near the 21. Chris Spielman on the stop. And that was good enough for another first down. So Rutledge moving the squad very effectively. And Randy, Rutledge says he knows that the only thing people think about him is that he's a good backup. He wants to show that he can be a more effective starter. First and 10. Ball at the 21 of the Lions. 12:26 left in the game. Batted down by Jackie Klein. 6'5", 280 out of Alabama.
And that was an example of not having to be within 7 or 8 yards of the quarterback and being able to make a good play as a defensive lineman. Jackie Klein was being stuffed at the line of scrimmage and timed his jump just perfectly. Here's Schlereth, number 69, working against Klein. Watch what happens here. Schlereth has got him pinned. He's got him dominated at the line of scrimmage. Klein just puts a big paw up and blocks it.
Second and 10. Rutledge going up top for Clark. Incomplete. As Clark, almost with a great catch, Leroy Irvin right on his kneecaps.
To the average wide receiver, this is a good attempt, but you know it's a hard to catch ball. To a Gary Clark, who I think is one of the best receivers in the league, this is the ball he says I should have had. He had the ball. It was his right elbow, makes contact with the ground. The ground jars the ball out of there. He does not have full possession. Watch this right here. He's got the ball in his hands and he cradles it, but before he can really get possession, the elbow hits the ground and knocks the ball out.
Third and 10. Nearly intercepted by Leroy Irvin. Intended receiver was Gary Clark. We'll bring up a fourth and 10 as Chip Lohmiller comes on.
Here's Clark starting on the right, dragging across. Sanders goes in front of him. He goes into the zone behind the linebackers, is in front of the defensive backs. Good timing by Leroy Irvin. Look at that. Anticipation.
And Chip Lohmiller comes on to attempt a 38-yard field goal. It's up. And it's good, so Chip Lohmiller now moves into a second-place tie on the NFL all-time list with consecutive games field goals made.
I think the Redskins defense needs to have a complete series of downs. They can't have two real good plays and give up a big play. They need to stuff the Lions here.
Onside kick does not work. And the Lions alert. Darren Carrington, alert player that time. So Joe Gibbs reaching into the bag.
Both teams are pulling out all the stops here, James. Like I said, they're throwing bombs. They are going after each other with everything they have because both teams realize on Detroit's side this would be a 5th loss. On Washington's side, a 4th loss might be a hole too big to dig back out of.
Galliano at the helm. First and 10 from the 47 of Detroit. Complete to Aubrey Matthews, and Matthews loses the ball. Recovered by the Redskins. If the ball was live, it should be Redskins ball. And it's signaled as such. So Fred Stokes comes up with the loose ball.
What they have to determine is was he down by the time he gets hit and the ball comes loose. Let's watch right here at the end of this play as the ball is flipped out here to Matthews. Was he down? Does not look like that from that angle. Looks like he was not on the ground yet. We'll look at it from another angle. Here comes Matthews. He's about to be hit. The ball is loose. That was a fumble.
At their own 46, 11:46 remaining. Trailing by 2 touchdowns. Jeff Rutledge at quarterback. Ernest Biner. And Ernest Biner runs up about, well, they're going to mark it. Looks like right about 6 inches shy of the first down marker. We'll call it 2nd and 1. Clark to the near side. Biner, first down. So Ernest Biner off the right side of the line for a 4-yard gain. Washington with 11 minutes remaining in the contest. And Jeff Rutledge has done a magnificent job of running the squad since he's been in. First and 10 from the 41 of Detroit. Rutledge for Monk. They call him inbounds, complete for the first down. So the official is indicating that because of the force out, that catch is good. Monk would have been inbounds had he been allowed to come down. A 16-yard pass play.
And when they say force out, you remember that from the old days in the schoolyard, getting forced out? Well, watch, Monk would have come down inbounds is what the official is saying. He would have come down there easily. Yes, he was in. It does not even matter. Contact or not, Monk got his feet down.
Long toes. First and 10 from the 25. Rutledge. Complete to Clark.
Good concentration by Gary Clark, because that play right there, that ball was deflected before it got out there to Gary Clark.
Pick up a 3 on the play, should bring up a 2nd and 7. Ball at the 22 of Detroit. 10 minutes left in the game. Rutledge going up top for Donnie Warren and overthrows it. Leroy Irvin with the coverage. So Donnie Warren, who had a career-high 10 receptions last week against the Giants, trying to come up with a big one there. Let's check in New York with Greg Gumbel.
All right, James, at Green Bay, 10-10 tie. Joe Montana from 6 yards out finds Brent Jones in the end zone, and the extra point has the 49ers on top, 17-10 over the Pack, fourth quarter. Let's go back to JB.
All right, Greg. No matter the 49ers not in stride, they always find a way. 3rd and 7. Rutledge throwing in the direction of Kelvin Bryant, incomplete. 4th and 7, and Washington calls a timeout to talk it over. Incomplete. Art Monk, the intended receiver. Pass was low.
And Washington was thinking deep with a comeback. And Art Monk, who's going to be coming out of the right, pushes the defensive back all the way back and is coming back for the ball. But the ball is thrown low and in front of him, and he cannot hold on to that ball in front of Oldham, number 42.
So the Lions take over at their own 22 with 9:35 remaining. On top, 38-24. Galliano, the quarterback. Going up top for Aubrey Matthews, incomplete. Sidney Johnson right there on the coverage. Galliano escapes the pressure, now being chased by Monty Coleman and pushed out of bounds. And Monty Coleman did a good job.
That was very, very close to being ruled grounding by the quarterback.
3rd and 10. 6 DBs in for the Skins. Galliano. Chased by Wilbur Marshall. Grabbed by Marshall out of bounds. Well shy of the yardage needed for the first down. Only a 5-yard run. So Jim Arnold will come on to punt for the Lions.
In the speed mismatch here, Wilbur Marshall will catch Bob Galliano every time. Watch him grab and bend this arm. Whoa, pulling that right arm all the way back. Watch this from the other angle. Gets a hold of that right arm. He's pulling, he's tweaking, he's trying to do anything he can. Wrong arm, Wilbur, the ball's in the other one.
Hog tie. Arnold looks to be okay over there talking with Rodney Peete, while Jim Arnold is on to punt. Stanley has the ball knocked out of his arms by Ray Crockett. First down for the Skins, 1st and 10, ball at their own 20. 8:33 remaining in the game. Washington trailing 38-24. Rutledge. Complete to Viner out of the backfield. And Viner picks up about 7 on that pass play. Rutledge on 2nd down has the yardage for the 1st down pass to Ernest Viner. Chris Spielman on the tackle.
And Washington feeling more of a sense of urgency with 7 minutes and 50 seconds left is in their hurry-up offense. If they're not going to move the ball down the field in big chunks, they need to move this hurry-up offense to get down the field.
Rutledge looking for Ricky Sanders, complete inside the 40 of Detroit. William White on the tackle.
Good job by Rutledge as he gets smacked right at the end of this play. Mike Kofor and Joe Jacoby in at left tackle hits him real late. Sanders goes up. Benny Blades gets there a little too late.
From the 38 of Detroit, Rutledge throws it low, intended receiver Kelvin Bryant, but Rutledge under pressure that time had to get rid of it. Kelvin Bryant chomping at the bit, trying to get more involved, hoping to get more involved in the offense this year. Came into the game with only 7 catches.
And Washington at this point is starting to feel the frustration, I believe, of Detroit's offense, or defense rather. Detroit's defense is giving them plays, letting them move down the field, but is not letting them into the end zones and take advantage of all the good offense that Washington is starting to pile up.
Defensive package in for the Lions. 6 DBs on 2nd and 10 for Washington. This is Bryant. And Bryant is tripped by Michael Kofor and lunges forward close to the 1st down marker. They call it an 8-yard pickup, bringing up a 3rd and 2. Bryant. We'll see where they mark it.
It would appear it's going to be just a little bit short of that 1st down.
Keith Ferguson on the stop. Close enough for a measurement.
It really doesn't matter if this is 4th down or not. They have got to go on this next play. One way or the other, the Washington Redskins are running a play here.
Well, it'll be a 4th down play. Offsides, Redskins, Joe Jacoby.
The big veteran offensive tackle, Joe Jacoby, in substituting for Jim Lachey. Watch him right here on the outside of the line, just all of a sudden lurch forward. Seems just to be a slight twitch and then a full jump.
It goes from being 4th and about a half yard to 4th and 6.
In this situation last time, Washington drove them off with their wide receivers. Art Monk's going to be out wide right.
First down, Gary Clark. Inside the 20, still on his feet. And Clark will score. Touchdown, Washington. No flags. So with 5:48 remaining in the game, Skins still within striking distance.
On this play, the Redskins seemed to confuse the Detroit defense. They had their receivers and their backs moving all over the place, and the Detroit defense adjusted late and got confused. William White misses the tackle, and from here on out, it's Gary Clark and his athletic ability.
And the point after by Lohmiller is good. And we've got a new ball game. Washington trailing by just a touchdown with 5:48 remaining. And a Redskins player is down after that point after. Plenty of time remaining.
Well, they've got a running game that is able to take time off the clock. Plus, I think by its basic nature, with this crew of wide receivers, it is more of a short passing possession game as far as the offense goes. They are able to do that. The receivers must always keep in mind, from here on out, I got to stay in bounds.
Lohmiller boots this one. Mel Gray back from the 3. And Gray run out of bounds at about the 24-yard line. 30 Eastern. The numbers here. Lions on top by a touchdown. 5:38 remaining in the game. First and 10. Ball at the 25. Galliano. Tackle missed by Andre Collins. And Galliano grabbed by Jumpy Geathers. So Jumpy Geathers, the Plan B acquisition from the New Orleans Saints, in on the stop.
And a good job downfield by the Washington defensive backs. They got up and they got physical with those Detroit Lions wide receivers. Now watch the end of the play here. Collins cannot hold on to Galliano. Now watch Jumpy Geathers kind of pull Galliano down by the top of his helmet. Bam! Might have gotten the face mask, but he got away with it.
So Jumpy Geathers forces Galliano into a loss of 8, making it 2nd and 18. To Matthews, complete. And Matthews across the 30 to about the 32. 3rd and 8 from the 27. Galliano looks to have been tackled shy of the first down by about a yard.
One thing to remember when a quarterback is diving or sliding or going for a first down like this, it's not where he finally ends up and stops and somebody touches him. Once he makes that commitment to dive or slide, it's where he initially makes contact with the ground. And he makes contact with the ground right where they mark it.
So the Redskins will get the ball back as Jim Arnold is on to punt for the Lions. Walter Stanley back for the Redskins, and Stanley is dangerous. And a good punt. And Stanley out of bounds at the 15 of Washington with 3:24 left in the game. A 52-yard punt by Jimmy Arnold. One thing Wayne Font's defense will have to contend with is a veteran backup in Jeff Rutledge, who's shown a lot of poise, Randy. 1st and 10. Ball at the 15 of Washington. Biner, the back. Rutledge complete to Monk. And Monk stopped by Ray Crockett. 8-yard pass play will bring up a 2nd and 2. Rutledge complete to Biner. Biner with the first down. Up to about the 28-29-yard line, stopped by Michael Colford.
Now it's a matter of how patient can Detroit stay. Can Detroit not bite on a short play, which may set up a long play for the Redskins?
Rutledge on first down. Incomplete, intended to receiver Gary Clark. Leroy Irvin, great play. 2:38 remaining. Redskins trailing by a touchdown.
And Irvin dove in there right at the last second and stuck his hands right in front of Clark's to bat that ball away. But it still holds. Detroit is a team now that must maintain its patience. Earlier they watched Washington go short, 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 and all of a sudden a big long pass to Sanders. This is where they're vulnerable. Detroit gets to concentrating too much on what's happening underneath them. They might forget about what's happening a little bit behind them.
2nd and 10. Rutledge for Bryant, complete. Shy of the first down marker by about 4 yards. Will bring up a 3rd and 4. 2:33 remaining in the game as Wayne Fox checks the clock.
This is two-play territory for Joe Gibbs. He has got to have a first down here.
Complete. First down. Art Monk. And the clock continues to wind down. An 8-yard pass play from Rutledge to Monk. Ball marked at the 44 of Washington. 1st and 10. Complete to Bryant. Bryant, first down. And that play by Bryant will take us to the 2-minute warning. 1st and 10. Ball at the 43 of the Lions. Going up top for Gary Clark. It's caught and dropped. Gary Clark had Leroy Irvin beat.
And the patience of Detroit was tested on this play. Gary Clark had Irvin beat, had the ball on his hands, but the veteran comes in and strips the ball away with his arms. Pulls those elbows back, and Clark cannot hold on. Detroit was being lulled to sleep. Stuff in front, stuff in front. They went deep. Should have been caught.
2nd and 10. 1:53 remaining. Rutledge to Monk, complete. Monk about 2 yards shy of the first down marker as the clock continues to tick. 1:40 remaining in the game. Brings up a 3rd and 2 for the Skins. Flags on a play. Too many men perhaps for the Lions as Rutledge throws it complete to Ricky Sanders. Enough for the first down. But it looked as if the Lions had too many men on the field.
That was a free play. There were 12 men on the field as Duckins, number 91, was hurrying off at the last second. Washington continue to go with their short to intermediate passing game here. It's now Detroit who must take the chances and try to make something happen to stop the Redskins.
1st and 10, Skins at the 30 of the Lions. 1:23 left. Complete to Kelvin Bryant. And Bryant near the first down territory. Stopped by George Jamison. Washington trailing by a touchdown. Brings up a 2nd and 1. Rutledge. Bad pass. Intended receiver. Gary Clark. Under a minute to play. And Washington needs a touchdown.
And this series is testing the Wayne Fonts theory of bend but don't break. They're bending, they're bending, they're bending. Can they hold? Can they keep the Redskins in front of them and not let one of these talented posse receivers, Clark, Sanders, or Monk, get into a crease or get behind them for 6?
Third and 1. And Washington calls a timeout.
Washington is a better team. They are a veteran team. They have been here before. Detroit has not been here in what they consider to be their biggest game in years.
1st and 10 from the 17 of the Lions. Rutledge back to pass. Batted down again by Jackie Klein. His second batted ball of the afternoon. Will make it 2nd and 10 with 41 seconds remaining in the game.
Big Jackie, you don't have to get real close right there. He wasn't but 5-6 yards away, but he got those big arms and batted that thing down. Here's Schlereth and Klein right there. Look at the space right there between Rutledge and Schlereth. Doesn't matter. Klein will knock this down. 2nd and 10.
Clark to the far side. Monk to the near side. 2nd and 10. Complete to Gary Clark. Short of the 1st down marker by about 4 yards. He's going to have to, they're going to have to keep in mind when to signal for that last timeout. 5-yard pickup on the play. And Washington burns off their last timeout. Wayne Fonts has seen Jeff Rutledge come on in relief of Stan Humphries, who went out early in the 3rd quarter. Rutledge, 24-35, 288 yards. 3rd down and 5, ball at the 12 of the Lions.
The Redskins have got to go into the end zone. No more underneath stuff here.
Rutledge, quarterback keeper. Touchdown, Washington.
What a gutsy call by Joe Gibbs and the Washington Redskins. Rutledge coming through here. Does he get to the end zone? Yes.
All important extra point. And it's good. So Chip Lohmiller ties it up with 18 seconds remaining. Detroit had led by 17 points.
At this point, if you're Detroit, you've got to be extremely down right now. Wayne Fonts is trying to rally his troops on the sideline. Their only hope here for a win is a long kickoff return. They'll either set him up in position to go for a field goal or give him at least one play, because there's only 18 seconds left for them to try to get a field goal to win this game. Or if not, we're going into overtime.
Wayne Fonts will try to find out if the silver stretch can really come up with a quick strike here. And the Lions, keep in mind, do have 3 timeouts remaining. Rodney Peete went out with an injured hamstring, replaced by Bob Galliano here in the 2nd half.
Detroit should get this back with about 12 seconds left. So they should burn off around 5-6 seconds on this return. And with 3 timeouts, that'll leave them room for 2 plays once they get the ball back. You got to think they're going to kick the ball away from Mel Gray. Why give it to the leading kickoff returner in the NFL in this situation?
Lohmiller. Mel Gray will take it from the 2. Flags on a play as Mel Gray is smacked hard by Kurt Gouveia. And Gray slow getting up.
There, holding 51 on the run back. Half the distance, first down.
Boy, Alphonse has got to be scratching his head. His team ahead at one point. 35-14. Only to see the Skins come back to tie it up. And that's exactly what they do, Randy. So that will do it for regulation play here at the Silverdome. And action ends in regulation tied at 38 apiece. And the Skins obviously win the coin toss. So Washington will receive. And we made mention at the top of the show, Washington has owned Detroit in this series. 20-3 the series mark, including a playoff victory back in 1982. Last Lions victory 25 years ago, 1965. Carlos boots it high and short in the direction of Joe Howard. And Howard steps out of bounds at the 15. Out of the I formation, Riggs, the back. Riggs, the ball carrier.
Art Monk to the near side. Gary Clark to the far side. Sanders in the slot. We understand we're having some troubles with the picture. We'll give you a radio call on it. Rutledge complete to Ricky Sanders, and Sanders up near the 20. Six-yard pickup on a play. And just to make you aware, we are working on the technical difficulties. We'll try to get you the action back clearly in just a moment. Third and 5 for the Redskins. Ball marked at their own 20. Art Monk is in motion. And Jeff Rutledge calls a timeout. So Rutledge will head to the sidelines to discuss things. Didn't like what he saw out there. Skins ball when we come back.
Third and 5 on the 20. Rutledge drop. Keith Ferguson. Second sack of the afternoon for Keith Ferguson.
Watch Keith Ferguson coming right here, driving up. It's a case of persistence, working against Raleigh McKenzie. I'm sorry, against Florette. Watch this. Keeps coming, and gets in there for the sack.
Ralph Moisienko, not a good punt, and takes a Lions bounce. So Detroit will operate with good field position at quarterback.
And Detroit needs at least 15 yards to get into reasonable Rich Karlis range. That would put him 47 yards out, which would be on the outside of his range here in Detroit.
His career longest is 51. Galliano, option. Dragged down by Wilbur Marshall. All marked at the 41, 2nd and 6. Galliano. Bad pass. Tip. And give the credit to Wilbur Marshall with a lot of pressure that time.
Look for the receivers out of the slots, getting underneath the zones, about 7 yards from the ball.
On 3rd and 6, Galliano. Incomplete, intended receiver, Richard Johnson. Ball thrown a little too high. Richard Johnson only 5'6", 185, and carrying a little weight up in the air.
And that ball was a little high, but it was also extremely catchable. Richard Johnson should have had that. It would have been a first down. Jim Arnold is one of the better kickers in the NFL, making the ball die inside the 5 and getting the ball out inside the 20.
And Walter Stanley, certainly one of the better punt returners in the NFL. And Stanley there catches it at the 9. Wayne Fonts and Joe Gibbs. Gibbs with his first trip ever here to the Silverdome. Rutledge at quarterback for the Skins. From their own 10, first and 10. Complete to Ricky Sanders. Up to about the 14. We'll bring up a 2nd and 6.
Washington's got to think, plugging the ball out, getting first downs. They have 11.5 minutes left in this overtime period. Just patience and control are Washington's key.
Monk to the far side. Clark to the near side. Finally, the lone back. Rutledge sacked by Dan Owens. Sack number 6 for the Lions.
Coming out right in here. Watch him just come right up here for his sack. Good job by Owens. Good intensity. Comes driving off the ball. They're trying to match up Bostic, or I'm sorry, McKenzie coming and pulling from his right guard spot, trying to block on Owens. No way on that one.
3rd and 15 from the 4. Rutledge up top for Monk. Complete for the first down and up near the 45-yard line.
We talked about in the 4th quarter, Detroit maintaining their patience, keeping everything in front of them and not letting things get behind them. Leroy Irvin, 47, lets Monk get behind him, tries to play back late to the ball, knocking it down, but he can't do it.
Art Monk, strong afternoon, and Washington 636 total yards, a team record. More importantly, 1st and 10, ball at the 45 of the Skins. To Bryant. And Bryant has the first down. So Jeff Rutledge finds Calvin Bryant, and Bryant anxious coming into today to contribute.
And this puts the Washington Redskins on the Detroit 44 rather, that puts them about 14 yards from Chip Lohmiller's range. They must get to about the 30-yard line, and I believe Chip Lohmiller can drill through a 47-yard field goal.
That 55-yarder came against Dallas this year. 1st and 10, ball at the 44 of the Lions. Rutledge to Monk, complete. Monk inside the 40 to about the 39, a 5-yard pass play.
Washington is now in a situation they don't have to get greedy. If Detroit wants to give them those short underneath passes, they can take them and methodically move the ball down the field and set Lohmiller up for a field goal.
Ball at the 39 of the Lions. 2nd and 5. Complete for the first down to Sanders, and Sanders down near the 30. Ray Crockett on the stop.
From here on in, it is gravy for the Washington Redskins. They are now close enough for a field goal. They can get very conservative. If Joe Gibbs wants right now, he can start running that counter tray of his back and forth to set the ball up towards the middle of the field. It's a long field goal, but from here on out, we're well within field goal range.
And Gibbs has a lot of confidence in Lohmiller, who Although missed 4 against Philadelphia this season, they changed holders. The guy at quarterback is now the holder. 1st and 10. Biner to about the 28-yard line. Run out of bounds by Benny Blades and Leroy Irvin. Overtime action here at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. 38-38 all tie between the Washington Redskins and the Detroit Lions. James Brown along with Randy Cross, and you see the time remaining in overtime. First score wins it.
And the Detroit Lion defense at this point has to resort to taking chances and taking gambles. They must try to make a big play right here.
2nd and 7. Redskins going to pass. Up top for Ricky Sanders. Ricky Sanders, the intended receiver. On 3rd down, Riggs, the ball carrier. And Riggs takes it down to the 18. And this would seem to be close enough, as Riggs runs it for the 1st down.
It would appear initially the way this play started, they wanted to bang it into the middle. But Riggs sees there's nothing there and follows Jimmy Johnson, his tight end, in motion all the way around to the outside. And from then on out, it is just him powering through the Detroit Lions. We have 1st and 10 on the 18-yard line for the Skins.
The down Lion player was Michael Kofor. He left the field with cramps. 1st and 10. Ball at the 18. The Skins keep it on the ground for maybe a yard. A 6:38 remaining in overtime. Jeff Rutledge, clearly the hero. 2nd and 9. On the ground again.
Setting that ball up right there, smack dab in the middle of the field for the field goal unit, who's now coming on the field.
So Chip Lohmiller will come on and try to give Washington the win. And as I mentioned, Jeff Rutledge, the new holder. Ralph Moishienko had been the holder since the beginning of last season. The Skins changed last ball game. This will be a 34-yard field goal attempt. And it's good. There is a flag on the play. There is a flag on the play.
Holding defense, pull and shoot. Let penalties decline. The game is over.
You heard it. So Washington battles back to win one whale of a ball game.
And from this close, Lohmiller leaves no doubt. It's high, and it's straight down the middle. Lohmiller makes it, and Joe Gibbs of Washington proves, yes, he does have the patience to hang with the bend but don't break offense. Low snap, good hold by Rutledge, getting it down in time. Lohmiller knew it right away.
And Joe Gibbs, who have been down in a prayerful position. And the Redskins battle back to win it 41-38.
This is CBS.